Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest today is Shawn Stockwell. He's an estate planning attorney, and he works at the Brooks & Brooks Law Office. Thank you for coming on Fresh Perspectives today, Shawn.
Thanks for having me, Gail.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'd like you to tell a viewing audience something about yourself. How did you happen to pick being an attorney for yourself?
I just knew I wanted to do something where I could help people and make a change and really help people figure out certain aspects in life as it gets pretty complicated. I didn't know when I was going through law school that I'd be an estate planning attorney. I went to law school and undergrad at UB up in Amherst. I took some classes on estate planning attorney, but I didn't know I wanted to do that exactly. And it's not what I did when I graduated law school right away. But I was always interested in doing it because I've seen my grandparents go through some issues where they really needed help. And I've seen it happen with other friends of mine, their parents and their grandparents. And I've seen how vulnerable people really can be as they get older, and they really need someone to step in and help them get things straightened out. And so I really appreciate that part of my job is the clientele that I work with. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic. A lot of my clientele are elderly, and I really like forming the relationships with them and helping them, and they really appreciate it. So that's kind of how I got into estate planning. I kind of just, I saw Brooks & Brooks, they were hiring one day for an attorney. I worked up in the Buffalo area, but I moved down to the southern tier to take the job, and yeah, it's been great. And I think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and it's really rewarding in that way.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that and being so helpful to people. There's a lot of things I know that people don't know about because nobody tells them.
That's right.
You know, so well. Okay. The name of your firm is Brooks & Brooks, and you handle estate planning law.
Yeah, we're out in Little Valley. We handle estate planning, which is just your basic documents, your wills, power of attorneys, healthcare proxy. And then we do more advanced planning, like trusts, mm-hmm. Revocable and irrevocable trusts. And we do Medicaid planning for people who need to go into a nursing home and help them, save as much of their assets as possible should they ever need to go into a nursing home. And then, of course, I also do, after people pass away, I help handle their estates and their trusts, whether that be through probate or just trust administration. Mm-hmm. And I go all over. I'm not just in Little Valley. I go all through the surrounding counties, Chautauqua, Erie County, Cattaraugus County, Wyoming County, Allegheny County. So you don't have to just be out in Little Valley to get my services.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have very many clients.
No, Little Valley's, I don't know how many people know where Little Valley is. It's a very small town out in the Cattaraugus, close to Ellicottville. But yeah, it's very small.
Yeah, it is. Okay. What are some typical goals your clients have while planning their estate?
Yeah, when I sit down with my clients, generally they have two goals that people tend to come to me for. One is just trying to make things as easy as possible. Mm-hmm. When they pass away, they don't want their kids or their spouse or whoever's handling it, a loved one, to have to go through very complicated procedures. They just want it to be simple, as cost reducing as possible, and just make it as easy and stress-free as possible. So that's one thing you can do. You got to do some advanced planning to achieve that. You can't wait to the last minute to do that.
You're never too young?
And you're never too young to get basic documents done.
Yeah.
So that's one of the goals, and that can be achievable, just planning ahead. The other goal is a lot of my clients want to protect their assets as much as possible, really, should they go into a nursing home, because that's the largest way I see the common person lose a great majority of their wealth is, they go into a nursing home, whether expectedly or unexpectedly. You have to spend down your money, and nursing homes are incredibly expensive. They're about, the average is around $12,000 a month. So most people cannot afford that, so they have to pay down whatever they own in assets, their house, their bank accounts, their investment accounts to pay for the nursing home. And this can be upsetting because they want to leave something to their children at the end of the day. So there are ways to protect from the nursing home, and that is something my firm prides itself on doing. So.
Yeah. Another option for people outside of the nursing home is if the family's able to do it,
Of course,
you can
yes.
you can get care in your own home.
Yeah, you can. That's always the first step. And yes, people want to stay home as long as possible, and I totally understand that. Whether you have family that steps in, which some people are fortunate enough to have, some are not, or there's a type of Medicaid called community Medicaid, which pays for nursing and aides to come into your home to help you out. This should be one of the first steps people explore if they think their health is going downhill and they may need some additional assistance. Now, not everyone can qualify for community Medicaid, but even if you don't qualify for community Medicaid, you can always hire a nurse to come in a few times a week or whatever you need to help supplement your needs.
Some people, some families even private pay caregivers to come in.
Yeah, if they're fortunate enough where they have the money, they probably wouldn't qualify for the community Medicaid I'm talking about, so you just private pay for a nurse. And if that's keeping them home and that's keeping them safe and covering all their needs, then I think it's probably worth paying a nurse to do that. Yes.
Yeah. And what will happen if you do no estate planning?
Yeah, so if you don't do any estate planning, you're going to fall into the default rules of New York State. And obviously they have laws in place for people who don't have wills and people who never did any estate planning before, but they're not tailored to your needs. They're tailored to handle the masses. They're not going to be specifically what you want. If you do no estate planning, you're going to subject your family to go through a large probate proceeding, which can be stressful and expensive. If you don't have a power of attorney is a document where you pick agents to represent you financially and legally if you can't do it yourself. Mental incapacity, things like that, dementia, someone to step in and take care of you. If you don't have this, if you've never done estate planning, the only alternative for someone to help you, because if you lose your mental capacity, you cannot legally sign a power of attorney. So they have to sue you for a guardianship under Article 81 of New York Mental Hygiene Law. And that's a very ugly proceeding. It can be frustrating, it's expensive, multiple months in court, multiple attorneys involved, and it puts a burden on your loved one. They have to take classes on how to handle your money to submit to the court on a regular basis. They have to take classes on how to handle your money. So that could present a burden for something that a strong power of attorney could have avoided completely.
Oh, yeah. So it's best to get a power of attorney.
Yeah, hopefully you never need it. Hopefully it sits in a drawer and just collects dust. But if you do need it, it can really save you and your family a lot of time, money, and stress.
Right. Okay. And what is probate?
Probate, yeah. Some people have probably heard of probate before, some probably have not. If you've lost a parent and they've owned assets, you probably have dealt with probate. Probate is a court proceeding that you have to go through when you own assets just in your name. Okay, so you own a house, no one else is on the house deed. That house, and you pass away, that house will have to go to probate. You own a bank account, no one else is on the bank account. You pass away, they'll have to go to probate for that. Probate in New York is notoriously slow. It can be quite expensive, and it just makes whoever's handling it, your executor, jump through a bunch of hoops, and it adds a bunch of stress when really they just should be grieving for the loved one they just lost. So it's best to avoid probate. Sometimes there may not be a probate. Between husband and wife, if you're married, when the first spouse passes away, there may not be a probate because both spouses were on the deed. And if you're both on the deed, you have right of survivorship. So if one spouse passes away, the other spouse owns it. Or they're both joint bank account owners. One spouse passes away, the other one owns it. But so they have all these assets owned together. So the first one passes away does not trigger a probate, but then the second spouse passes away. And if they've done no prior estate planning, then the floodgates open up for probate, and then they have to go through probate. Can you get through probate? Yes, you can. It's just if you want to keep things as easy as possible, which a lot of my clients, as I mentioned, that's a major goal of theirs, then you don't have to deal with probate. There's ways to avoid it. Simple as putting a beneficiary on a bank account avoids probate. Doing a trust. People are afraid of trust because they don't know what they do, but trusts are a very effective way to set up your estate plan. And a trust, whether it be revocable or irrevocable, avoids probate. So it's just some thinking ahead you have to do in how assets are titled. And if you title it right and you set it up correctly, your family will not have to go through probate.
I remember about a year before my mother passed away, I was having a conversation with our local undertaker, and I was showing him, things. I was showing him that that my brother and I had power of attorney with her, like checking account, and the undertaker told me, you better get your name put on this account, because if you don't, you won't be able to use that account to pay any money that she still owes, like maybe for medical bills or anything like that.
That's correct, yeah. This just happened, actually. My grandmother just passed away last night.
Last night?
Yeah, last night.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you. She was 96.
She had a good long
life. But she was kind of stubborn, and she didn't want to do any estate planning. She's just some people from that generation, they're really private about their assets, and they just like to keep it, they don't like to share it, especially with their children. They just like to keep it private. But a couple of months ago, I told my uncle that, should she pass away, you guys won't be able to access her bank account to pay for the funeral and to pay for everything that may need to be done. A funeral can be 16 grand or 15 grand. So I told him that you better get, we should get a power of attorney before she passes away so we can do this. And I just did the power of attorney yesterday when she went in the hospital. It was a little too late for the power of attorney. But they did manage to get her to take some money out of the account. They took out the vast majority of her money. So they have it available now to pay for her attorney fees and, not attorney fees, but the funeral and the fees that go with that. So they don't have to pay for it out of pocket.
Did she not have life insurance?
She does have life insurance, but that can take some time too to come through. You got to make the claim for the life insurance. The funeral homes want to be paid for right away.
I suppose. Yeah.
So a lot of times, family members have to come out of pocket to pay for this. Fortunately, they got the money out where they didn't. But yeah, the power of attorney, even if you have one, if you pass away, the power of attorney is no longer working. That ends when you die. So yeah, if you don't set up beneficiaries on the bank accounts, or you put someone on the bank accounts, whether it be a child or all the children or a trust, then you're going to have to wait probably a good couple months to get access to that money until the court gives you power to handle everything in the estate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it gets really complicated if you don't already have things done up.
Yeah, it could put people in a pinch where they got to pay for it out of pocket and then wait until they get access to the money, yes.
Okay, are there a basic set of documents that everyone should have, and why are they important?
Yeah, so I think just, from a certain age, especially if you have children and you own assets, everyone should have a basic set of documents. And this is just the basic will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, and a document I call the living will. Now, a misconception with a will is that it avoids probate.
Which it doesn't.
It does not. You still should have a will. They're important, but it does not avoid probate. If you don't have a will and you go through probate, then the laws of New York State will dictate who your beneficiaries are and how your assets are distributed to those beneficiaries. This is your life, you should pick that. So that's what a will does. A will tells the judge who your executor is, who your beneficiaries are, and how you want your assets distributed to those beneficiaries. Okay, so everyone should have a will, because that much, if you have to go to probate, at least choose your own beneficiaries. Everyone should have a power of attorney. Like I said, should you lose mental capacity and you need someone to step in your life, or even if you're physically unable to get out of the house, like you just don't move around as well as well as you did when you were younger, you could say, hey, son, take my power of attorney, go to the bank, do my banking, or do whatever you need to do. But or if you have mental capacity, they step in and take care of you. And like I said, the alternative to that, if you don't have it, is a very ugly proceeding called the guardianship. The third document, a healthcare proxy. This is someone where you pick an agent to make medical decisions if you're unable to make it yourself. Very important. If you ever have an accident or a medical decision and you can't make the decision and you go into a hospital, they're trying to figure out who has the authority to make these decisions. And it's going to slow things down, whereas if you have a healthcare proxy that states right there, call this person if I ever have a medical decision that needs to be made. And so you want that, or you want to make sure it's the right person making that decision. Don't let the laws of New York State dictate who your healthcare proxy is. You know your family better than I do, or anyone. You know who is the right agent to act in that situation. You may have one child who's a nurse and might be very good at that. And you might have another child who does not react well in that kind of situation. So it's important to pick the right people. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important to have a healthcare proxy. And a living will is a document that just says, if you're at the end of your life, the doctor says there's nothing he can do for you. This might be a situation where you have no brain activity anymore, or a situation where you're alive, but you're not there really. There's no quality of life. Mm-hmm. This is the situation that directs the healthcare proxy that in this type of situation, it's okay to take me off life support. Don't put me on feeding tubes. Don't resuscitate me. Just give me comfort care. If the doctor can fix me, of course, fix me. But if it's truly the end, just give me comfort care. Mm-hmm. So that can really alleviate a very difficult situation, mm-hmm. okay? And it happens more often than you think. I had a lot of my clients go through that.
Mm-hmm. Well, from what I have witnessed, about various different people that I know, that a lot of people get what is known as a DNR, do not resuscitate, mm-hmm. Order, and where legally, I guess, you can't resuscitate them if they have one of those. You don't, that isn't something you do for people, though.
No, that's something more you should work with your primary doctor on, because you got to be really certain you don't want to be resuscitated. So that's something you would work more with your doctor. And there's also something called a moist form. It's a bright pink form. And this is something you fill out with your doctor at your hospital. And this goes through specific treatment that you would want or not want if you were in certain situations. Like, I don't want to be resuscitated. I don't want, specific medicines given to me. So if you are specific on that, you do want to talk to your doctor about it. A DNR is a very, serious decision. It's saying no matter what, don't resuscitate me. Mm-hmm. So you got to be pretty sure that's what you want, and you got to talk to your doctor about that. But the healthcare proxy and the living will are more for if other people are making decisions for you.
Okay.
Okay. But that's, you got to think about what's important to you and talk to both your estate planning attorney, your family, and your doctor about how to set it up. Okay.
What is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
Oh, that's a good question. It may seem simple, but a lot of my clients confuse this. Medicare is the type of insurance that you get when you qualify for when you're 65. It's insurance that will cover a portion of a stay in a nursing home if you go in there for a rehab, but it does not cover long-term care mm-hmm. if you go into a nursing home. Okay? Medicaid is it's both a New York State / federal program that, yes, it pays for insurance for those who don't have a lot of money, but it's the type of program where if you go into a nursing home and you qualify for it, you get your nursing home paid for you by Medicaid. Okay, now your assets have to be down to a certain limit, and your income needs to be to a certain limit, but it would qualify you. And like I said, there's another kind of Medicaid as well, community Medicaid, and this pays for nursing and aides to come into your home.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so a lot of people confuse the Medicaid and Medicare, and they're really distinct in how they operate. And one's going to help you with your insurance and may cover a portion of a nursing home, but a lot of people think that Medicare will cover the nursing home. It does not. Okay, your insurance does not cover a nursing home. Now, there is long-term care insurance that you can get that will cover the nursing home, but
it's expensive.
It's very expensive, and they're hard to find these days because there's not a lot of money to be made in it. But it can be expensive. I've seen clients have this that it's about $9,000 a year for each of them. Okay, sometimes if a client has gotten it a long time ago and they still have a decent policy, I say, okay, you can keep that, and we can plan around that. But most of the times, it's not an option. So you really are exposed should you ever go into a nursing home. And the stats show that a good portion of us will spend some time in a nursing home. So, I hope you never have to go to a nursing home, but if you do, you got to think about if you want to have to spend on your assets and take the risk or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now this community Medicaid, does that also, is that thing where you can pick who your caregivers are? You
that
pick
is yes.
A friend or a relative to be your caregiver, and they would get paid. Is that?
Yeah, that's
is that community?
I think it's part of community Medicaid. I think it's called Freedom Care is the actual name for it. Yeah, you could set it up where one of your relatives or a friend or someone can get paid for being a caregiver to you. And I think that's a tremendous program because a lot of times if someone needs to have a caregiver, obviously they don't get paid and they have to take time off, and it puts them in a tougher financial situation. This is a great opportunity for someone if you have like a daughter or a niece or someone stepping in, taking care of you, where they can get compensated for it. So yeah, that's a good program that Community Medicaid runs, and it should be an option. If your health is decreasing and you have someone willing to step in, well, maybe you should get them paid for helping you, because being a caregiver is very difficult on its own. It's very draining. I once had a sister who passed away of cancer, and I was her caregiver for a while, and it was the most difficult thing I ever done in my life. So I can only imagine if you add financial stress onto that, what it could be. So yeah, that's a great program. People should look into that.
That wasn't available up until just a few years ago, was it?
Yeah, I think a little before COVID they introduced
just
that.
slightly before COVID, yeah. Because when I was taking care of my mother, it didn't exist. That was like she passed away 10.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was pretty.
That could have helped you out.
It could have helped me out, but it wasn't available to me. So
they're getting a little bit better about that and helping people get through this.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that people can get some more help that way. Who should you pick to act as an executor, power of attorney in healthcare praxis?
Yeah, obviously everyone knows their family better than I do, so I can just give them guidelines on who to pick. But, as far as executor, this is someone who's going to be the figurehead for your estate as it goes through probate, if you need to go through probate. You just want someone who's responsible and will get things done and can handle it. They may have to hire an attorney to help them. You just want someone who can, out of your family, who can handle this. And it can be more than one person. You can have 2 executors. I generally don't like to see more than 2. I think, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, you can destroy the meal.
Right.
But no, 2, generally I prefer 1 because 1 agent can get things done quicker. Okay, it just takes 1 signature to get it done. But if you want 2, you want both your daughters on there, both your children, I can understand that. I just wouldn't go more than that. And you just want someone responsible who's willing to get the job done, because it is frustrating, especially being an executor. You just lost your parent or a spouse, and you have to go through that. Now, oftentimes, husband and wife are each other's first executor. That's quite common. Then they have children as the backup, okay? Same thing with power of attorney. Power of attorney, is someone going to be handling your finances. So you don't want to pick the child who's out spending money recklessly, okay?
No, you don't.
You want a responsible child who will listen to you and understand what your needs are. Okay, and generally spouses first are the first power of attorney for each other, and then it could be one or two of your kids. You could have two people working together, and you could give them the power each to act, so they don't need both of them to sign. So with power of attorney, I generally say, you can make the spouses each other, then choose a kid or a good friend that could be your power of attorney. If a spouse may be starting to show signs of dementia, maybe we shouldn't make them the power of attorney. Or maybe we should make them the power of attorney with one of the kids so they can act together. Because if they have signs of dementia, they may not be, in the future, they may not be capable of acting as power of attorney.
And sometimes the dementia progresses pretty rapidly, too.
Yeah, everyone's a little different. Unfortunately, I see this a lot in my business, and it really just breaks my heart to see dementia and how it affects people, because I just think that's terrible. You're in your own mind, but you don't know exactly what's going on, and you lose your memories. And really, it's terrible for the loved ones. One of the hardest decisions I have to see my clients make is when their spouses have dementia, should they place them into a nursing home? And that's a really tough decision to make, because while you want to take care of your spouse, you want to support them, you want to help them. Being a caregiver, as I mentioned, is very draining. And at some point, if you're in that situation, you have to worry about your own needs. They can only get so much out of you in their condition with you helping them. They may be better off in a facility where there is memory care and they can be looked over 24/7. Because dementia can be very difficult to handle. I've had a client came in yesterday. His wife has dementia and it's been progressing rapidly, and she gets angry. Okay, and she can be physically violent. And this poor guy is trying to keep her at home as long as possible, but it's tough, and it breaks my heart when they have to make the decision. Sometimes it's the right decision that they have to go into a nursing home for both of you. So yeah, I mean that's one of the toughest things I see is families having to deal with dementia. And as you get older, the odds of developing dementia, Alzheimer's increase. And there's a lot of baby boomers out there right now who are starting to age and get older, and so it's a big problem right now. Long-term care or handling the elderly in general, rather than dealing with an illness like that. So
yeah, and a lot of people don't really have what it takes to deal with.
Oh no, you don't realize what it takes. You think you can help.
A dementia patient, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they start to wander. They'll wander out of the house. You got to lock your doors. Not all of them wander, but a good chunk of them will wander a little bit.
Yeah, you hear news reports from time to time. Oh, be on a lookout for a person who looks like this and so forth, because they went missing from their home overnight or something
That's
like
right,
that.
yeah.
And sometimes the people are found deceased.
That's
when
right,
they finally, if they're wandering around out in winter weather or something.
Yeah, their mind's not functioning properly. They think in their mind they have to go somewhere, and it might be winter out there, and they don't register the danger, and yeah, it can put them in a tough situation, and that puts more, stress on the spouse who has to make sure that they don't do that. So
right. So that's when sometimes people start hiring.
Yeah.
Somebody to hang around with their dementia patient family member, because they can't be with them all the time.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Yeah, I mean, everyone progresses differently with dementia. Some it's very slow and gradual. Some may be gradual for a while and then all of a sudden it speeds up. So it's really a personal decision you have to come to terms with as to, can I handle this anymore, and do I need help? And if you need help, you should get the help. Don't let your, your own pride or whatever step in the way. Just get the help that you need, whether that be hiring a nurse or getting family to stop in more, or making the decision that they do need to go into a memory unit or a nursing home full time. You have to do what you have to do for both of you. And it's a tough situation. There's no really great answer, but they're solutions that will work out in the long term.
Yeah, and sometimes dementia patients, well, they can seem like their brain is working fairly normally, like at certain times of the day, and then they'll have certain times of the day when they're not. Like some people can seem like their brains are working right during the day, and then they'll have sundowner syndrome.
That's right, yeah.
So
I often get from my clients, they have good days and bad days. And if there's just starting dementia, we want to get them in to sign documents on a good day, so they know what they're signing and they're capable of
so it
signing.
might be a little bit unpredictable to get them in to sign.
Sometimes it is, yeah. You have to work with them on that. Yeah.
Does that make it kind of hard on you?
Sometimes it's difficult. It's tough to make a decision on someone's mental capacity, because sometimes they may not know some short-term stuff, but they know who their kids are. They know what they own. Generally it's the short-term memory from what I've seen that goes first. Yeah,
I've seen that too, and sometimes they'll even think they're in the past.
Yeah, yes.
They don't even
right, or they're talking to someone who's been passed away for a while, or something like that. They're operating off old memories, and that doesn't mean that they don't know what they want, or how they want their assets distributed. Just affects their decision making.
Okay. Why is the possibility of needing a nursing home a big factor when it comes to estate planning?
Yeah, a lot of people get surprised that I talk so much about the nursing home. And, I hope no one obviously no one really wants to go into a nursing home. The goal is to stay at home and live a long life at home and, to die peacefully. But like I said, the fact of the matter is a good chunk of us spend some time in a nursing home. The average stay in a nursing home is 2.5 years. Some people go in there for a month for rehab and come out. Some people go in there for a couple of years. And the problem is, if you go in there, you have to pay these monstrous bills. If you're a single person or if you're widowed, you're allowed just around $31,000 in total assets should you go into a nursing home.
Oh.
Okay, so if you own a home and that's all you have, they will put a lien on your home. Okay, if you have bank accounts and money in the bank over the $31,000 or investment accounts, they will make you cash those out to pay the care before Medicaid starts paying. And they'll make you spend down your assets until you get down to the $31,000 mark. And then Medicaid will pay for your care, okay? This can, people lose a lot of their wealth. It really breaks my heart when I see someone go in there and they get drained down like this. Now, with a husband and wife, it's a little bit better of a situation, but it's still not great. If one of the spouses go into the nursing home, the one in the nursing home can keep the $31,000 in assets. The one outside the nursing home can keep a house, a car, and roughly $75,000 in assets. Okay, so between the two of them, you get to keep a house, a car, and around $100,000 or so in assets. Better, but still, if people add up what they have, they'll find out that they're probably significantly over that. The second property that you own, the investment accounts that you have, the money that you got stashed in the bank from, money that's just stacking up from your retirement accounts. These all add up quickly. So I wouldn't rely on that too much, the spouse exemption, because wonder if both of you go in, then it's only the $31,000. Or wonder if one of the spouse passes away, and then you're what they call single or widowed, and then it's the only $31,000. So ultimately, I like to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Plan that, what if you go into a nursing home, set up, an asset protection trust, and then after 5 years, everything will be protected in the trust should you go into a nursing home. They cannot go after the assets in the trust. So that's what if people think further enough ahead and they set this up, it can really, give them some protection to protect from the nursing home, to avoid probate, and it gives them peace of mind, knowing that should something happen, their assets are in a good place, and they're in a good place to pass on to who they want to when they pass away.
Which is the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I get New York State has a big problem. They're trying to do a decent thing. They're trying to pay for everyone to have long-term care, okay? And that's very noble. And in an ideal world, that's how it should be. Everyone should get the care they deserve. The problem is how they have it set up. It ends up being the people with money are paying for everyone to have care. And, some people are okay with that. They don't mind if they get spent down if they go into a nursing home. But a good amount of my clients are not okay. They want to protect their assets from that. They save their whole life for this house, for this money, for everything that they have. And they don't want to lose it to the...
And they want it to stay in the family.
They want it to stay in the family. And they don't want to lose it. And, when they go into the nursing home and the guy in the bed next to them, who didn't save a dime, is getting the same care as them right off the bat. Now, it's a beautiful idea. I just, practically it just makes people who save up a lot lose their money towards the end. And, I just think that's something that people should think about. And if they're not okay with that, well, maybe, we can't fix the big problem right now. We got a lot of legislative work and a lot of figuring out how to, where to place money and how to fund Medicaid. But they can at least look at their own, estate and their own life and their own family and try to protect from that. And that's something that I think everyone should think about. I know, no one wants to go to a nursing home. You don't want to think about it. But if you just think about it, you get something done, and you just get it down, you can relax knowing that odds are maybe I won't go to the nursing home. But if I do, at least everything in the trust is protected.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what is the 5-year look back?
Yeah, so I just mentioned the 5-year look back. Should you go into a nursing home, Medicaid, to pay for you, needs you to qualify. And as part of the qualification, they look back at 5 years of all your financial information. They look at month-to-month statements of your bank account. You literally got to give them physical statements of every account that you have. Bank accounts, IRAs, 401ks, investment accounts, every financial account that you have, what your pensions are. And what they do is they look back at 5 years and they go through your bank accounts and everything, and they look for you giving away money where you get what they call it is an uncompensated transfer. So, because back in the day, a lot of people, to get around this issue, when they know their house is failing and they think they might need a nursing home, they gave their money away to their kids. They're like, here, son, have 20 grand. I'd rather you have it than the nursing home have it. Here, daughter, take 20 grand. And, that used to be a way people tried to save the cash and not spend it in the nursing home. But these days, they're looking for that, okay? They're looking, and if they see something, generally they flag something $2,000 and over. If they see something going out of an account of yours, they'll flag it. And if you don't have a good enough reason where that money went, it will create a penalty that you have to pay back to the nursing home for the amount of time that money would cover in the nursing home. Mm-hmm. So if you gave away 20 grand to your kids in the last 5 years and you go into a nursing home, that money's got to come back to your name, or else it's going to create a penalty mm-hmm. that you have to pay for before you get care, mm-hmm. before Medicaid starts paying. Mm-hmm. So I don't recommend that people gift away cash because of the 5-year look back. And the 5-year look back is probably only going to get longer. Back in 1988, there was no look back period.
Oh.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Then they increased it to 12 months, to 24 months, to 30 months. Now it's at 60 months. In the future, they'll probably make it longer. There's talk of 7 years. Okay. The longer that time period is, the harder it is to protect your assets. And also community Medicaid right now. Community Medicaid, as I mentioned, pays for nursing and aides to come to your home. Mm-hmm. Right now, there is no look-back period on that, but they are instituting a 2.5-year look-back. It was supposed to go in during COVID, but they just delayed it. So at some point in the near future, they're going to make that community Medicaid more difficult to qualify for. So there's no way around the 5 years. That's why I say if you do an irrevocable asset protection trust, you transfer your assets into the trust, and then after 5 years, should you go into a nursing home, they cannot go after any of the assets in the trust. Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you're going to sign some property over to your children to make sure that the family doesn't lose it, then you have to make sure that you're doing it early enough
That's right.
that you haven't developed significant health issues
Yeah.
yet.
So what you're talking about is kind of an old school way people try to protect their home. You deed your house to your kids and you maintain a life use. Okay? That's what I kind of call the cheap and dirty way of doing it. I still do it sometimes for some people. It just depends on the situation. If you deed your house to your kids and maintain life use, it will protect what I say around 75% of the value of the property. That life use that you have maintains a value. So should you go into a nursing home and your family goes to sell the property, the nursing home can still come after you for that life use value. Okay?
Wow.
And also, if you deed the house to your kids and you maintain a life use, your kids own the house for all intents and purposes. They're on the deed. So if they get into a divorce or a car accident or develop a large creditor issue, it's possible the house could get sucked into their affairs. Okay?
Oh.
So that has some problems with it. It still works for some people. That's why I think the trust, the irrevocable asset protection trust, is superior to that, because it doesn't matter if your kids go and get in a car accident or anything like that, get in a divorce. They can't go after the assets in the trust. And you also protect 100% of the value of the house and not just 75%. And you can also protect other assets besides your house if you do a trust. You can put money in there. You can put other property in there. You can put investment accounts in there. There are two different ways of doing it. Some people still do the deed to the kids, maintain life use. That will protect a lot of the value and avoid probate. But like I said, it has the flaws. Or the trust, where you protect 100% of value, avoid probate without those flaws.
Okay, so what is a trustee and who should you pick to be a trustee?
Right, so a trustee is the person, it's like the figurehead of the trust, who you pick to be in charge. There's many different kinds of trusts for many different kinds of purposes. I generally deal with two types of trust, revocable and irrevocable. A revocable trust, its only function really is it avoids probate. Okay, you can be your own trustee in a revocable trust. Okay, and basically you title your assets to the trust, and it's like creating an alternate version of yourself, where you can just pull the money in and out of the trust like you do before you set up the trust. It's yours. It's just titled to the trust. Then when you pass away, it goes through avoids probate. Okay, the irrevocable trust does avoid probate as well, but this is the type of trust that gives you protection. After 5 years, should your assets be in the trust, they will be protected. In an irrevocable trust, you cannot be your own trustee. Okay, because that has too much control if you're your own trustee. So generally, people pick their children, similar to a power of attorney or an executor. You could have one kid or two kids. I don't recommend more than two. But the trust owns the assets. The trustee has legal title to handle the trust assets, and you tell the trustee what to do. Okay, so you set it up that way, and that way, you still have some control of your assets, but in a way where you still protect them at the same time. And your trustee should be someone that you trust. It should be a kid that knows why you're doing this. Well, I'm setting this trust up so I ensure that I leave something to my family at the end of the day should I go into a nursing home. And I'm also trying to avoid probate to keep costs down. They should understand that you're doing that to ensure that they can pass something on to them and respect why you're doing it. And you really only need to act while you're alive a couple of times. I mean, if you ever sell a property or if you need money back out of the trust. Other than that, you just set them up, and then when you pass away, they don't have to go to court. They can just handle everything pretty easily without the expenses of probate. So, trustee is just like picking another agent, such as power of attorney or executor. You want to pick the right person. It should be someone you trust, and it should be someone that respects why you're setting up your estate.
Okay, we've pretty much covered exactly what a trust is. in what they do. And
Yeah, I mean, there's many different kinds of trust out there. If people try to research this topic, they're going to be overloaded with information. And not every trust is the same. I can only speak for what my trusts do, okay, and the provisions in my trust. I can't speak for whatever other attorneys and other people do with their trust. Just like a power of attorney. A power of attorney is not all the same either. You can get a power of attorney and it might be 4 pages long, probably straight out of the form book, of the New York State form book. You go to any good estate planning law firm, you're going to leave with a more robust power of attorney where it has more powers in it that may be needed should you be unable to act for yourself. Same thing with the trust. A more established practicing estate planning attorney is going to know what kind of provisions need to be in the trust, because you still want control, but you got to give up some control to get the protection. So it comes down to the drafting of the trust and fine tuning as to how you work those together in a way that works for clients. And so I just wanted to caution people, trusts are phenomenal. They're what I think the best way to set up an estate plan, but it can be confusing reading the information on them and seeing the differences. You really need to talk to a professional about that if you want to set up a trust. And a good estate planning attorney would be able to do that for you.
okay. What are estate taxes and death taxes?
Right. So a lot of people think, well, when I pass away, what are my kids going to have to pay in taxes? Is there an estate tax? Is there a death tax? The good news is in New York, in order to pay taxes after you pass away, you have to own a good amount of money. In New York State, to pay estate taxes, you have to own over $7 million.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a lot
Now,
of
if you
money.
own over $7 million and you have that problem, it's a good problem to have. Come talk to me. There's other things we can do. Okay? But most of my clients do not have that problem, essentially. So for most of my clients, everything that passes through their estate, they get at a stepped-up cost basis. They're beneficiaries. So they don't have to pay taxes on them. So the property that they inherit, they get at a stepped-up basis from the date of death value of when you passed away. So when they go to sell it, they will not have to pay a capital gain on it, okay? Or investment account. If they inherit it through your estate, they get it at a stepped-up basis, so they don't have to pay any gains that have accumulated throughout the years. So there's a benefit of having it pass through your estate, and only if you own more than $7 million will it affect any of that. And the federal estate tax is over $12 million. So really a very small portion of my clients get affected by death or estate taxes. Other states are different. I'm just talking about New York State here. Other states have much lower estate tax. And New York used to have a lower estate tax too. It used to be around $3 million. And it's still pretty high, but that affected more clients that we dealt with.
Yeah.
A lot of people get closer to the $3 million. But $6 million is pretty high. I have some clients that are over that, but most of my clients are well under that, and they don't have to worry about it at all. So the good news is you don't have to worry about estate taxes. If you're under that, your kids or your beneficiaries will get everything in a stepped-up basis.
Okay, now when your beneficiaries receive their inheritances, do they have to pay income tax on it?
No, yeah, that's they don't have to pay income tax on it.
Oh, okay.
They get it. They just get it at the date of death value. They don't have to pay any income tax. They don't have to pay a capital gain on the property. Now they will have to file a final tax return for their deceased parent or whoever did pass away, or if they owned a trust, they will have to file a final tax return for that. But no, they get everything at the stepped-up basis.
Okay. And when is a good time to come to you to do an estate plan?
Yeah, so there's different stages of life, and I think you should plan your estate accordingly. If you are younger and you start to have kids and you start to own property, I think at that point you should come to me and start thinking about doing just the basics. Get your will, get your health care proxy, get your power of attorney. Plan, accordingly with you and your wife, or if you're single, just get the basics done. Maybe if you're younger and you have a lot of assets, you might think about doing a revocable trust, where you just title your assets to a trust to avoid probate. And then maybe if you do that, maybe later in life you come to me and you change your revocable trust to an irrevocable when the nursing home is more of an issue in your head and as you get older. So you might, you really won't start thinking about that till later on. But, I seldom see younger people come to me for documents, the basic documents. And, it's not hard to do. I just recommend just get it done. It will save your family. God forbid something happens to you. It will just help them out in that situation. But ultimately, when you retire, or late 50s or 60s, 70s is a good time to do a good final type estate plan. This is what I'm talking about. You should think about doing the irrevocable trust. And you should think about avoiding probate. And you should think about, exactly who you want as your beneficiaries down to a T. Do you want to leave your grandkids some money? Do you want to leave some to charities? Do you just want it to go to the kids, split it evenly? Do you want it to go to a minor and hold that money to the minor in a trust to an age of 25 or 30? There's various ways you can set it up. And, it's good just to get something down in your, when at retirement age, get it down, something good down. And then if you ever want to change it later on, we could always change how you want things distributed. Okay, but just get it, and you can't predict the future. That's another thing a lot of my clients try to do about this.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about asking about that because even if you're like only in the second half of your 20s, but you're married and you have children, you really need to have something.
That's right.
I mean, young people get in accidents.
It happens, and odds are it won't, the percentages say it won't, but, sometimes the percentages work against you, and it's got to happen, it happens to someone. And, just God forbid something does happen to you, you want to leave your family in the strongest position possible, and without as less stress as possible. So if you're married and you have kids, you might not be thinking about the nursing home. That's a long way off, and I get that. But you got to, we're all mortal, and we're all just flesh and bone, and something could happen, and it happens every day to unfortunate people. And if it does happen, God forbid, wouldn't you want your family to be in the best position possible to move on?
Oh yeah.
And doing just getting the basics down. While it's not going to solve the gap that you leave, it will just make things a little easier should something happen.
Yeah, because if they lose you, then it's bad enough for them to be going through the grief experience without having to deal with all of that. I know the very day after my mother died, and she died late in the evening, but the very next morning, I'm getting phone calls from people like her life insurance company and all kinds of things.
It can be very overwhelming.
Like that. It's like, why when I feel like this, why when I'm so grief-stricken, that I couldn't even sleep all night.
And you got to answer.
Why did they want me to make this decision now,
right.
And things like that.
Right.
So.
And that's why I recommend the more planning, the better. If you're getting older, go plan your funeral arrangements. Go take care of your gravesite. It's not the most fun way to spend your afternoon probably, but it will make it a lot easier when your children are grieving your loss. They don't have to deal with these things. The more you can put down, the more information. What's the hardest is when, parents who don't tell anything to their kids, and then they don't do any estate planning, then they come to me and you got to piece together what they owned, where it is. You got to monitor the mail, and you don't know exactly if you have it all. And that could be just so problematic and just stressful. Just, lay it all out there, get it down. You don't have to tell your kids exactly how you're setting it up and who's getting what, but just tell them what they need to know. So if something does happen to you, the day's going to come when we all pass away. It's going to happen to us at some point. It's better to have people go through as less stress as possible through that by giving them adequate information ahead of time. Even something as simple, when I have workshops for my clients, I do workshops where I go around and I talk about these issues. I give them just a record book where it's just a simple book, but it's where you can write in it. You just write down, your passwords for your internet, who your doctor is, what the safe combination is, just like what assets you own, just basic stuff, so that if something does happen to you, you put it somewhere where the kids can find it. They just have access to simple information.
Mm-hmm. And one question, and it's about the healthcare proxy. I don't know, maybe it applies to power of attorney too, but probably not. But the healthcare proxy, anyway, you should take it with you when you travel.
Yeah, so I mean, if you get into an accident and you're traveling, they're not going to know much about you. You're going to go to some random hospital, and they're going to have to dig through your wallet and do whatever they need to do to track down who has the right to make medical decisions, especially if you can't act for yourself at that time. This is when you would need a healthcare proxy. So it's good, to have it in your purse or take a picture of it to have on your phone. Keep a copy of it in the glove department box. Just have it on you, especially if you're traveling. Now, some of the problems is not every state calls healthcare proxy a healthcare proxy. 29 states call it a power of attorney for healthcare decision making.
Oh.
Florida calls it a surrogate appointment. So my healthcare proxy I create has language in it that helps it travel. So if you're in a state that calls it a surrogate appointment, they know what it is and they'll honor it. Or if they're in a state where they call it a power of attorney for healthcare decision making, they know what it is and they'll honor it. Because I've had the problem where people had New York State healthcare proxies out of state, and they just because it doesn't match what they name it or call it, they won't honor it. So my healthcare proxy does incorporate more of the language and law of other states in it that helps it travel. But yeah, it's a good idea, even if it is on just a state New York healthcare proxy, to have it on you if you're traveling, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. The last question is, I would like you to tell the viewing audience how they can get a hold of you if they want to see you about doing this estate planning for them.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm in Little Valley. My office is right on Court Street, 207 Court Street in Little Valley. You can call my office at any time. We're open generally throughout the week, but we'll get back to you. My phone number is 716-938-9133. They could get a hold of me. Just call the office, say you want an appointment, and I could either meet with you by phone, I can meet with you over Zoom, or you can come in. I do travel. So if people have trouble getting out of the house, or if Little Valley is understandably too far out in the sticks for you, I could come your way if needed. I understand a lot of my clients are elderly, so I do travel to their houses quite a bit. But again, give my office a call, 716-938-9133. I also do have a website, brooksandbrooks.biz, B-I-Z. You can go on there and it will show what we do, and you can schedule an appointment on there. It will also stay my workshops that I do. I do workshops all over the place. So if anyone wants more information about this, either call my office for workshop information. I do them all over Chautauqua, all over Cattaraugus, Erie County, all over the place. And there's odds are that I'm going to do one near you relatively soon. So if you want more information about this, you can come to my workshops. My workshops are stated on my website, the time and date and where to go. You can come, they're free to come to. I usually have some sort of food or refreshments you can have when we're there, and you can ask me any questions you have when you're there. But yeah, just give me a call or go on my website and I'll set you up with an appointment.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much for being on Fresh Perspectives.
Oh, thank you for having me, Gail. It's been a pleasure.
You're more than welcome. And I'll see those of you in the viewing audience when I do the next episode.